Thought I had it all together, but I was led astray. The day you walked away, you were the clock that was ticking in my home. Changed my state of mind.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Love so hard to find.
we got him.
Let's get into why I DNF'd Terry Goodkind's Wizard's first rule. Just in, Jesus himself has literally come back from the dead so he can tell Terry Goodkind that he doesn't like him. An associate of his has come all the way from Jerusalem to the United States, and here is the message.
God hates you. God is sick of you. God is frustrated with you. God is wearied by you. God has suffered long enough with you.
Do you know who Terry Goodkind is? Terry Goodkind is a fantasy author. He does not like to call himself a fantasy author, but I will in fact argue to you, he is the single worst fantasy author. First of all, he believes that he is above fantasy, okay? He absolutely believes that he is above fantasy, but he is not. Let me tell you what makes up the most generic fantasy story. There is a farm boy, okay? It has to be a boy. We don't know why, but it is a boy, okay? And then this boy will go meet someone special, a wizard. And this wizard will tell them, you are special, my dear brother. Turns out you're actually not inferior. You're not mortal. You're not like the other humans. You are special. So the journey is going to be us following this particular farm boy become a great wizard or something awesome like that. There is a trope to it, which is, it can become escapism, right? There's a lot of fantasy stories out there, not common in today's world, but in summary, the protagonist becomes a special boy that is coddled by the author, and then that particular protagonist gets everything. Now, what do you think you will find in Wizard's first rule? Do you think you will find something above the most generic fantasy format ever? Or will you find something that subverts the format? Let's say Poppy War, or let's say, one of my favorite fantasy authors all the time, George R. R. Martin. The most blatant, BS, trope-ridden, cliched fantasy story you will ever. We have Richard, who is practically not a farm boy, but he lives in a village, basically, equivalent of a farm boy, nobody, in a small part of the world. And then he meets a great wizard, Zed. And the great wizard, chooses him as the chosen one. Terry Goodkind is below every fantasy author I have ever seen.
It's facts! It's facts!
And I want you to do a favor for me, okay? I want you to simulate a particular example in your head 2 times in this particular video, okay? Imagine you are writing a story, and in that particular story, there is a protagonist. That protagonist is going to be a chosen one, okay? Why is the important question. Why is your protagonist chosen in the place of other characters? This particular question is very important because the fantasy genre, it tackles this particular, issue of the chosen one a lot. That is a very good question. Terry Goodkind does not answer that question. In fact, he gives us the argument against the chosen one, the argument against Richard, because Richard is the special one. We know that for a fact, okay? And so in this story, there is Kalan, the mother confessor. She basically goes on a journey to find the great wizard because the world needs a chosen one to save it once more. Because why? There is a dark lord. Do you know what he's called? Darken Rod. We literally have a dark lord that is called Darken Rod. Darken. And the world needs to be saved anyhow. So it is crucial that Richard, or at least some chosen one, goes and fights him. However, why Richard? And I argue here because Richard should not be the chosen one. Kalan should be the chosen one. She should be the chosen one. Why? Because she goes on a journey to find the great wizard. Okay? She has motivation. She has perseverance. And she wants to save the world. She showcases throughout the story her innate kindness. She showcases throughout the story that she is good, okay? And as we see her get sidelined in every chapter, I grew extremely frustrated because we had to pretend, I was reading this with one of my friends, we had to pretend that, you know, this Richard boy is worthy of being the chosen one. No, Richard is not worthy of being the chosen one. And I don't care about any special heritage genetic. Also, by the way, I just remembered, he also has a Darth Vader moment, okay? I am your father. Yes, like this happens toward the, the end of the story. Basically, you have to understand that Richard should not be the chosen one.
It's facts! It's facts!
Number 2. Now, I want you to actually imagine that you are once more a writer and you're writing a story and you are in the middle of your book and you suddenly realize that the middle of your book is really terrible. The middle of your book is saggy. It's called the saggy middle syndrome, okay? Terry Goodkind suffered from this. And what smart writers can do to fix it, one of the ways, and I have learned this a lot, I have in fact applied it into my writing, is you go back to the beginning of the story and you track forward from there and you determine stuff that you can change so that the middle portion of your story is in fact not boring, okay? But do you know what Terry Goodkind does when he realizes he has a saggy middle syndrome problem, okay? What he does is he decides to get rid of the great wizard that is solving the problems for Richard, okay? And then he ensures that Richard goes with Callan. And the reason why I tell you this is because it is really, really unremarkable. It is an unremarkable solution to a very remarkable problem. I say a remarkable problem because it is literally present in almost every book, the saggy middle syndrome. And every author has to tackle this when they are writing a story. He does not really come up with a clever solution. He should have went back to the beginning of his story. Instead, in the middle of the story, he starts inventing magical stuff. He starts inventing, okay, so they meet this, they're told of this particular, sorcerers that can heal, okay? And so she tells Richard that, okay, it will take several days for them to come back to full health. Now Richard has to leave the great wizard behind. Now there is tension in the story. Okay. Let's give this to Terry Goodkind. Let's not mess with him, okay? Congratulations, sir. Now you have tension. What do? Should your magic take away tension from the story? The answer, I believe vehemently, is no. Your magic system should add conflict to your story. Terry Goodkind now has Richard and Callan in the middle of nowhere. Do you know what he starts doing? He starts inventing magical objects, magical artifacts to get Richard and Callan out of trouble. How does he do this? Well, he does this specifically by having something called Nightstone, I believe, and then Richard happens to have some tooth that can protect him from the monsters. And then there is Nightstone is actually, it gives them light, okay? And then there is a necklace, some form of necklace that he gives to Callan, okay? And this necklace will also protect Callan from the monsters. You monkey, you ape, you chimp. You just got rid of the great wizard so you can put Richard and Callan in danger. But instead what you do is you invent stuff so that Richard and Callan can be safe from the monsters. What else could he have done? That's a very important question, because instead of giving, Callan and Richard magical stuff to protect them, let Richard and Callan use their wit. Because according to the story, not according to what we have seen, but according to the story, Richard and Callan are both very smart. However, that would take effort from Terry Goodkind. It would take a lot of effort from Terry Goodkind to write smart characters. So instead, he settles for the easy thing and he just gives them magical BS that protects them from the monsters. And at some point, they get lost from each other and then eventually they just find each other because why not? At this point, it doesn't even matter. And that is where I will conclude this video. And so I want to ask you a final question, okay? A final question about this video. And it is that, do you think when it comes to magic systems, okay, do you think that the magic system should be used to resolve conflict? And how can an author navigate that? If you have an answer to this particular question, I would like to hear your take in the comments.